Do women ever really know what they want out of their man? Hi there, men's dating coach HarryWilmington here, founder of introvertdatingsuccess.com. And today I want to go over some of the many opposite things that you may hear women say in terms of what they want from a man. Like they may say they want one character trait while at the same time wanting another character trait, and they clash with each other. And what it is that you should do when you hear these things to better your chance at keeping a woman's attraction. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of when I post up new daily videos. Also, go to the website to check out my free video training, How to Get Attractive, Feminine, Emotionally Stable Women Dying to Respond to Your First Messages on Dating Apps Without Using Sleazy Pickup Lines, which will give you key secrets to sparking attraction and conversations with women online the smart way. Let's get into it. All right, so here's how I came across this. So I was looking up some articles for things that I want to talk about on future shows. And there was an article that I came across that was talking about online dating and what things that men should be putting into their profiles. And this is written by a woman, by the way. So I'm not going to go over that particular article. But in terms of some of the things that she said in that article, I noticed there were a lot of things in there that she was saying men should put in their profiles that were very much clashing with each other and ideals. And it made me realize that this is something that happens a lot. When you ask women directly what it is that they want from a man that they would possibly date, you'll hear a lot of things that they'll say that are complete opposites. Something like, basically I want a man that's hard but soft at the same time. And this is something that can confuse men because on one hand, you're hearing that she wants this one version of a man that you think you could be, but then there's this other version of a man that she's saying she could also go for. And what's confusing is that men will try to do both, but it's really hard for them to understand what the heck's going on. And I have found for me, at times when I've tried to be both versions of these various cliches, it didn't work out. And so I tend to fall on one side of the cliches versus the other. And you also have to know what these things mean, because understand that women typically are going to make decisions in the moment about what they need based on their emotions. And a lot of times they feel as though whatever they're going through in that moment, well, the guy should be feeling that same thing. And some of the things that women are saying that they want are typically more feminine in nature. And I find that it's not that women necessarily want you to do these things that might be soft or more feminine. It's more so that they want you to not judge them when they're being that way. And so I want to go over what some of these opposing cliches are and just kind of talk about what they mean and why it is that you should really not listen to them, because ultimately you're going to want to stick to the side of things that are ultimately more masculine than feminine, because a wide variety of women typically go for more masculine traits, more so than feminine traits. And we can go into a discussion all day about what masculine and feminine means, but depending on where you are in the world, ideally your society has its own definitions of what that is. And most of the people in that society, whether they want to agree with it or not, are going to lean more towards wanting the opposite of whatever they are. Okay, so let's get into this. So for the first thing, here's the big one that a lot of guys hear is they'll hear a woman say, well, I want a man who's rugged yet soft, meaning he's a guy that can be masculine and have muscles and grrr, but he's also going to show his softer side. He's going to cry during movies. He's going to let me know the last time he cried watching The Notebook, or the time that he smiled at a puppy. And this is the reason that women say this is because they want a guy that does have masculine characteristics, but again, they also want a guy that's going to, when she's having soft moments, be able to tone it down a little bit and see her deal with her softness. Whether it's, again, she's smiling at a puppy, she's picking flowers, she's saying, oh, I want to get this cute dress. These are moments that women have that is totally okay for them to have. But yet you need to know, guy, that if you try to be equally as soft, then most women are not going to see that as masculine, and they're going to start losing a little bit of attraction to you. And it's unfair because there are moments where, you might see something cutesy, or you might want to be a little bit softer. And if you decide to do that, that is fine. But just understand that when women that aren't dating you say, I want a man that's rugged yet soft, that she has no idea what she's talking about. And more often than not, she's going to be that same woman that's going to make fun of or turn down guys that are overly crying or taking ballet lessons or being too soft or whatever. They're going to do that. So even though it feels as though they should want somebody like that, the reality is in most cases they won't. Another opposing cliche, you'll hear women say like, I want a man who's confident, yet not too confident. And what will usually happen is women will say this because they want a guy that, believes in himself and has drive, but they don't want a guy that's so overly cocky that it's going to make her feel a certain way about it, or he's going to be teasing her, or he feels like he's so confident that he can just get any kind of woman and leave her to the wayside. And so when you hear women say this, understand that you're still going to win out a lot more if you're being overly confident than if you're either lacking in confidence or showing less confidence. Another thing too, most women want men that are going to be leaders, and leaders by default are confident. And even if the most a-hole-ish leader will typically still have women falling over themselves for him because they'd rather be with somebody that's a leader and knows what he wants than a guy that is constantly asking her for stuff and showing a level of no confidence that is going to turn her off. So between these two, between being confident or not being confident and being vulnerable and showing a signs like, I'm not too sure about what's going on, women aren't usually attracted to guys that are unsure of things. They might have empathy for your situation, but that's not going to turn on the triggers of attraction in them that's going to make them want to stay with you in a romantic sense. Another one, I want a man who is himself, yet does things to please me. And I say this in a sense that women don't necessarily verbalize this per se, but it is a thing where it's like women will say, I just want a guy to be himself. And a lot of times that means you're going to have interest or want to do things that do not make her feel as pleased with you. Something as simple as like wanting to go to a cigar room with the boys. Well, if she's against smoking, she might be like, well, you shouldn't want to do that. Well, that's you being yourself, isn't it? So then does she want you to be yourself, or does she want you to be a version of yourself that's going to be pleasing to her? And guy, you can't do both. Like, you can't be trying to change who you are specifically or change your interest or your group of friends, etc., to just please this woman. Because what you're going to find is a lot of men that do that, like they cater to what the woman's saying she wants to please her, and then the woman ends up dumping them anyway, in part because by following what she wanted, he's lost a part of himself that she was actually instinctually, animalistically attracted to. So don't fall for this thing where women are like, well, you need to change this thing about your X, Y, and Z. Like, no, she fell for you because these things were already in place. If she doesn't like them, she can kick rocks. Another opposing cliche is women will say, I want a man who takes charge, yet can be submissive to me. And that means doing what I want him to do. And you can't be both. You can't be a guy that's willing to take charge and then fall under whatever it is that she wants to say. Because a take charge guy is a guy that's planning, is a guy that's being a leader, is a guy that's figuring out a pathway for you guys to be successful in a relationship and or to follow your goals and dreams in life. So you can't be that kind of guy and then decide, but you know what? Whatever she says, I'm going to say, yes, dear, no, dear, I'm sorry, dear. Like, that is not a strong masculine presence, and that is something that even the women think they might want it is going to ultimately turn them off long term because they don't want to be the one that's wearing the pants in the family. They don't want to be the one that's taking charge. They don't want to be the one that has to plan out all this stuff. And so do not fall for this guy when she says it. Another opposing cliche that just really irks me is women will say things like, well, I want a man who earns more. And yet, at the same time, she'll be like, but I want a guy that sees me as an equal. Think about this, guy. If you're the head of the household and you're making more and you're the one that's paying for everything in the household to go on and getting stuff fixed or whatever, then realistically, you guys are not going to be equal. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, because realistically, if she is there to be your helpmate, then that means that, yes, she's going to be able to give her input on things, but you ultimately have the final say. And as much as, today, in today's society, it's wrong to think that the man's still trying to be the one that makes more and he's trying to set the rules, blah, 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 blah. The reality is, instinctually and just biologically, women are more often than not going to want to stay with and fall for a guy who earns more, or if nothing else, is a little bit higher on the hierarchy in his job or whatever. That's the whole hypergamy situation where it's like women will typically try to fall for a guy they feel is above them. Most women are trying to date equal to or above them. So to say this thing where like, oh, well, he needs to earn more, but we're the same, realistically, that's not possible. Okay. Now, this does not mean that you do not treat her with the same level of respect that she treats you, because you both want to be respectful. But in terms of your positions in the relationship, you can't be on equal footing. Like, it's going to be better for you to be up more, to have more self-esteem, to earn more, to take charge more than she is. That's just how it typically functions in terms of women that stick around long term. Another one that women say is, I want a man who is wild yet calm. I want a guy that's a wild man and knows how to, have fun and take danger and be risky, but also he's able to be calm and, make sure he's, stuck with me. And again, these are opposites. So it's not that a wild man can't ever be calm. What she's saying here is, in the moments where I need calm, I need him to be able to help with that and to, have that same kind of energy. But in terms of, women going for guys who are a bit more wild, a bit more free, a bit more willing to be out there, whatever, they're going to typically go for them more often. Now, if you're an introvert, you're listening to this and saying, well, what if I'm an introvert, but I'm not that wild of a guy? That does not mean that she would not necessarily want to be with you. But what I'm saying is that if you have things that you do that are a little bit out of the norm or might be a little more, adventurous than what she's used to, you might be a guy that likes to hike on the side of mountains. That's kind of dangerous-ish if you're just walking along a pathway, but she might be somebody that's afraid of falling off the edge possibly. That alone can make you look like more of a wild man. You might be an introvert that uses foul language more than she does. To her, that might seem wild. You do not then calm that down to please her. That goes back to pleasing her because, again, she fell for you while you were doing that. So to be this wild guy or to be a version of wild that she thinks is considers wild, and then her saying that she wants you to change that, that's not going to be to your benefit, okay? And then the last one I have here is women will say, I want a man that does his own thing, yet spends all his time with me. And this is especially true when people get into concrete relationships where it's the woman feels as though she needs to be doing every single thing with the guy. And especially if you're an introverted guy, you already are against that plan altogether. But yeah, understand that you had your own interest, whether it was you were playing music or you did stuff with a computer or whatever interest you had that you did solo by yourself. Those things don't need to go away just because you're now in a relationship. Because yes, it's cool to include her in things, and even some of the things that you do solo, you might occasionally want her to be there. But the reality is that if you two are constantly doing stuff together all the time, little arguments going to start to pop up. It's going to start to become bothersome. You're going to start to notice these little bitty tics about each other that you don't like. And more importantly, you're not going to have the time to just get back to the essence of yourself as you before she was there. And if COVID has taught us anything, the divorce rate in this country has gone up significantly since people are on lockdown. Why? Because now they're being forced to spend all their time together. And also, it's not that they're forced, they're in the same household, but a lot of times people aren't asking for their alone time. They're not asking to have, time away from that other person. And as you can see, the divorce rate has gone up significantly, in part because women are thinking, well, I want to spend all my time with my husband, and yet they're typically the ones that file for divorce at a higher rate than guys do. So understand that you doing your own thing is not a bad thing at all. And when women start saying you need to do more time with me, blah, blah, blah. In a dating relationship, just by default of living with each other or going on dates, you're already going to spend more time with each other. But don't let her take away that part of you that is still going to be doing your own thing. Because that's, again, another part of you that she realistically wants, even though she's saying she's not. So understand, when women give you these opposites, you really want to err on the side of these two things that she's saying that she wants. Which one, if I lean towards one more than the other, is going to give me the best benefit? And what you're going to find is the side that you lean towards, that is where you're being more rugged, more confident, you're being more of yourself, you're taking charge, you're earning more, you're being a little more wild than she is, you're doing your own thing. The stuff that is traditionally considered more masculine, again, in whatever society you're in, when you lean more towards those things, you're going to find that most women are going to you're going to have more women fall for you for one, and also most women are going to be fine for it because they want to be able to lean into their femininity. So just like they don't want to be punished for leaning into their femininity, you cannot let a woman make you feel guilty for falling into the side that's more masculine. And it's only going to benefit you if you were showing that side of you in the first place. Thanks for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. While there, you can also download a free copy of my ebook, Texting Like a Boss, where you'll learn the kinds of texts that really attract women. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment on this episode, and catch new episodes 7 days a week right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out some other episodes so that you too can learn to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.